in this thing about Target, Target rolling back some of its DEI practices, I went back to some of my research that I was doing while I was sleeping with Superman. Have I said this in a while? When I say I was sleeping with Superman, here's what I mean. I don't know if I've said this blatantly in a while, but for a little while I was working actually during what turns out now to be a very pivotal time in history, during the Summer of Enlightenment, right before George Floyd's murder, 2019. From 2019 all the way through 2023, 2022, 2023, all the way through like 2023, I was working for a black marketing agency for NDA purposes, and because I fuck with them still. I'm not going to say their name, but if you know who they are, you know who they are. During this time, I was a culture analyst, which means I was being paid to investigate how culture, what we do here on the show, can directly intersect with some of the marketing opportunities that were happening before and after the Summer Enlightenment. So this is the time when all these companies were making DEI promises, specifically in the Black History Month, February of 2021. If I'm not mistaken, a lot of companies were rolling out all of these DEI practices. And one of my assignments while I was sleeping with Superman, you get it now, one of my assignments when I was sleeping with Superman was to investigate and try to create some type of rubric or some type of scale of how these companies were intersecting with blackness. So we did a survey with Superman, and then I intersected that survey with some research that we had done on companies, and I was able to create an actual grading scale for each company based on how black folks were perceiving them and the DEI practices that they were rolling out. I was able to create like a grading scale on how companies were doing at this time. And so when Target said that they were pulling out of their DEI practices, in my mind, I was like, when I wrote the report, if I'm not mistaken, Target was one of 3 organizations that actually I graded as like 90 and above, like an A per se, in these DEI practices. I think it was Target, it was Microsoft, and funny enough, the NFL. Bomani Jones would then do a report on Game Time. Was it Game Time Theory? Was it just Game Time?
I think it was Game Time Theory.
He did a report on Game Time Theory in which he outlined how the NFL publicly had pulled back from some of the DEI and woke policies that were getting in trouble, but had almost tripled down privately in supporting these situations. So the same NFL that was blackballing Colin Kaepernick for taking a knee for black social justice rights. It's the same NFL that would years later triple down on an investment that an investment over an organization that is basically proliferating socialism as a community organization. The same NFL. These were 3 organizations that I graded as A. So when what's they called? When the Target pulls that DEI promises to start rolling back some of its language, I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on? Why? This is the same Target that was attacked by the if you go woke, you go broke crowd, and they doubled down on creating clothes for queer and trans kids. They doubled down on, prior to this announcement, they doubled down on, we're going to have diverse suppliers. We're going to make sure that we create opportunities. So why the fuck would they back out now? What happened? So then in my investigative search, I backed out of the search a little bit. And what I found is there are some organizations who have refuted this anti-DEI movement, right? And I figured, okay, if I can find an organization and I can reach down into the depths of their notes, maybe I can figure out why this is happening. And it turns out Costco has turned away whatever this anti-DEI movement is in favor of DEI movements. And as of 3 hours ago, there's a report that actually more attorney generals, and we'll get to that in a second, are attacking Costco, saying that this is illegal, et cetera, et cetera. So here's what I did, sweetheart. I looked into how this was happening. And it turns out that I found an organization. I want you to scroll through their website as I'm talking about it. I found an organization. It's called the National Center for Public Research. National Center for Public Research. They purport themselves to be a think tank. Now, what has been purported is this same think tank has connections to the Heritage Foundation. This is the right-wing think tanks that are being created to attack these equity and diverse and inclusionary programs. Same people, right? Found this think tank. They have a project called Project 21. Are the people seeing Project 21? Project 21 is the black vertical of the National Center for Public Research, which is a right-wing think tank. These individuals, and the later house is scrolling through, you can click on the report, you can see who it is. These individuals are black, and they are arguing on behalf of anti-DEI movements. Right, okay, so we got that. So here's what happens. Here's what I find in the story. What I find is NCPPR, the National Center for Public Research, are sending out appeals to the Fortune 100. They're sending out appeals to the Fortune 100 to repeal these DEI initiatives from each one of these companies. And what's happening is, what you're seeing is Meta agreed to the appeal. X agrees to the appeal. McDonald's agrees to the appeal. But then there are organizations who are directly denying the appeal. So I thought it might be beneficial this morning. I put it on my threads. I think Shamika was saying that right now. I put it on my threads. But I think it might be beneficial this morning to read directly from the shareholder notes that happened when this pitch was sent to Costco. And I'm going to try my best in my just very dyslexic ways to read this, all right? The later house, you keep scrolling. I want the people to see all these colored folks that are on this site. You even scroll through, they arguing about reparations, how they feel like reparations is unjust socially. This is Project 21 at the National Center for Public Research. So here's how it goes. Proposal 4, shareholder proposal requesting report on the risks of maintaining DEI efforts. The following shareholder proposal has been submitted to the company for action at the annual meeting by the National Center for Public Policy Research. Excuse me, I got the name wrong. They are based here in Washington, D.C. at 2005 Massachusetts Ave if you want to go visit them. The proposal will be voted on at the annual meeting only if properly presented by on behalf of the proponent. The proponent, again, remember, is the National Center for Public Policy Research. Supporting statement. Here is what the National Center for Public Policy Research has sent to Costco and other Fortune 100s. This is what some people have agreed and disagreed to. Last year, here's their statement, supporting statement. Last year, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in SFFA versus Harvard that discriminating on the basis of race in college admissions violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Prior legal evidence regarding the legality of corporate diversity, equity, inclusion programs has been pulled into question post-SFFA. As such, attorneys generals of 13 states warned Fortune 100 companies that SFA implicated corporations' DEI programs. They go on. Since SFFA, a number of DEI-related lawsuits have been filed. So I just want to say, so far, the National Center for Public Research is basically saying that the Supreme Court has ruled that state education's affirmative actions ruling, which have ruled on behalf of destroying affirmative action, gives them legal precedence to go after private companies. Although that's not what the Supreme Court said, this is what the National Center for Public Policy Research is proposing. They go on to say a corporation was successfully sued for a single case of discrimination against a white employee, resulting in an award of more than $25 million. And the risk of being sued for such discrimination appears to be rising. Additionally, many major companies have begun to roll back prior DEI commitments and lay off employees from DEI departments. Alphabet and Meta cut DEI staff and DEI-related investments. Microsoft laid off an entire DEI team, as did Zoom, and John Deere publicly stated that it had halted many policies that were previously part of DEI efforts. After Tractor Supply explicitly stated that it had eliminated DEI roles and retired our DEI goals, it is clear that DEI holds litigation, reputational, and financial risk to the company, and therefore financial risk to the shareholders. So again, what the National Center for Public Policy Research at Project 21, these colored folks are saying out of their mouth that affirmative action has been destroyed, get with the program. Although it doesn't address private corporations, we believe there is precedent that it could. They back that up with letters from 13 attorney generals from 13 states. And I want you to guess which 13 states you think backed up this type of malarkey. I'll say that for now. And then the final piece of precedent the next piece of precedent that they say is not only is the Supreme Court hinting at private corporations, not only are attorney generals warning Fortune 100s, your friends have also dropped out. And they name their friends, Alphabet and Meta, Microsoft and Zoom and John Deere and Tractor Supply. All these individuals have laid it off, so why don't you? Also, we continue to go on. They continue to purport, and yet Costco is still such a program, though it was apprehensive enough to recognize that it is recently and quietly rebranded its DEI program to people and communities. But sticking a new label on discriminatory practices does not protect Costco and its shareholders from these risks. Again, the National Center of Public Policy Research is purporting that Costco is participating in a new form of discriminatory practices by transforming its DEI program from DEI to people and communities. The National Center for Public Policy Research is against public and policy and practices. Okay. And I would like to note that since DEI has been under attack, we have seen a 24% decrease in DEI languages from branding, while there has been a 59% increase in languages such as belonging, peoples, and communities, right? Remember, I'm coming from Sleeping with Superman. I know these tricks, all right? Anyway, the rename program still openly expresses a commitment to equity, which means, this is what they say, which means equality of outcome, not opportunity. Still employs a chief diversity officer, still has a supplier diversity program that picks suppliers based on their race and sex, still appears to factor in race and sex in hiring and promotion, and still contributes shareholder money to organizations that advance the discriminatory agenda of DEI. All of these practices are staples of corporate DEI programs and consistent with Costco's DEI program prior to its rebranding. Here's where it gets ridiculous. I don't even know where they got this math. I read and I couldn't figure it out, sweetheart. With 310,000 subscribers, for 310,000 employees, Costco likely has at least 200,000 employees who are potentially victims of this type of illegal discrimination because they are white, Asian, male, and straight. I want you to note that the new definition of white is no longer just white folks. It is now white, Asian, male, or straight. Women, get the fuck out of here. Unless you're an Asian woman. Accordingly, even if only a fraction of those employees were to file suit and only some of those prove successful, the cost to Costco would be tens of billions of dollars. Resolved. This is the resolution. Shareholders request that the board conduct an evaluation and publish a report omitting proprietary and privileged information on the risk of the company maintaining its current DEI, including people and communities, roles, policies, and goals. Sweetheart, you have scrolled through these folks. Did you get to the point in the reparations conversation where they said reparations is a thing? Is that what you're reading right now?
What reparations mean for Black America?
No, keep going, scrolling down to it says reparations is an unjust something. Not why reparations. Yeah, the same people who wrote what I just read you also wrote this. Just read the first paragraph right here.
Billions in payments may seem attractive at first glance, at least to those who might be recipients. But what evidence is there definitively showing that potential recipients of reparations today were injured by the injustices of the past? In other words, how much evidence is there to show that today's blacks are suffering because of slavery?
The same people who wrote and questioned what evidence is that today's blacks are also the same people who are in charge of this strategy. They wrote the 13 letters that were supported by the 13 attorney generals in 13 anti-black states. They wrote this proposal to Costco. They wrote other proposals and pitched them to the other Fortune 100s. They had the support of the same people who created Project 2025. This is the same people. This is the enemy. This is the playbook right here. Right here. I put it on my threads. It's got an ugly fucking link to it, but it's right here in the notes. And so if I'm asking the question of why are they doing this? Did you hear anything about profits?
No.
We had one example of one case of one white employee resulting in a reward of $25 million, and they used that to justify a potential billions of dollars loss. Was this white person, were they queer? Were they suing on behalf of religious discrimination? Or is it the only thing white people have to be discriminated on is just the fact that they are white, which doesn't happen? Does it say that women are being held to a higher or lower standard? Does it claim that minorities don't have the proper merit? I see merit in here. Did I say merit in here one time?
No.
I didn't hear merit. I didn't hear excellence. I didn't hear intelligence in here one time. This is the playbook. It is based on a Supreme Court ruling that has nothing to do with private corporations. It is based on the precedent of other companies bitching up. It is based on one lawsuit by one random white person for $25 billion. And it also attacks any transfer of these DEI practices into any other state of business. This is the play. So what impressed me most, actually, when you keep reading, you see that the board of directors for Costco has responded. Now, sweetie, I don't know if you could do this in real time, but you can change the browser window. Maybe you can look up the board of directors at Costco. You can go back to the Interact and just change and just Google from there. Okay. Maybe you can look up the board members of Costco at the moment. But these board members, I'm going to tell you right now, they're mostly white. These board members, they say this. The board directors response. The board of directors unanimously recommends a vote against this proposal. Excuse me. I'm going to try to read again. Excuse my dyslexic eyes. Our board has considered this proposal and believes that our commitment to an enterprise rooted in respect and inclusion is appropriate and necessary. The report requested by this proposal would not provide meaningful additional information to our shareholders, and the board thus unanimously recommends to vote against this proposal. Our success at Costco Wholesale has been built on service to our critical stakeholders, employees, members, and suppliers. Our efforts around diversity, equity, and inclusion follow our code of ethics. For our employees, these efforts are built around inclusion, having all of our employees feel valued and respected. Our efforts at diversity, equity, and inclusion remind and reinforce with everyone at our company that importance of creating opportunities for all. We believe that these efforts enhance our capacity to attract and maintain and retain employees who will help our business succeed. The capacity is critical because we owe our success to our now over 300,000 employees around the globe. We welcome members from all walks of life and background. As our membership diversifies, we believe that serving it with a diverse group of employees enhances satisfaction. Amongst other things, the diverse group of employees will help bring originality and creativity to our merchandise offerings, promoting the treasure hunt that our customers value. This can be backed up with the stats saying that companies who have diverse racially, ethically, and sexual orientation have a 34% chance of have a 34% higher profitability as a company. This has already been studied. Costco agrees. That group also helps provide insights to the tastes and preferences of our members. And we believe, like Trader Joe's, how you gonna know which food to appropriate if you don't got no other color people in the room?
Right.
You're never gonna find no butter chicken if you're just in there with white folks. Never gonna find no damn jambalaya, fucking Walmart all raw. Get out of here. And we believe and member feedback shows that many of our members like to see themselves reflected in the people in our warehouses with whom they interact. Having diversity in our supplier base, including appropriate attention to small businesses, is beneficial for many of the same reasons diversity benefits our company. We believe that it fosters creativity and innovation in the merchandise and services of our members. Consistent with our commitment to obey the law, we regularly evaluate our practices concerning compliance with the law, including evolving Supreme Court decisions. We believe that our diversity, equity, and inclusions are legally appropriate, and nothing in the proposal demonstrates otherwise. As part of our obeying the law, all decisions regarding recruiting, hiring, promotion, assignment, training, termination, and other terms and conditions of employment will be made without unlawful discrimination on basis of race, color, national origin, ancestry, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression of religion, age, pregnancy, disability, work-related injury, covered military and or veteran status, political ideology or expression, genetic information, marital status, and other protected statuses. Damn. Name them, Costco. Right. Here we keep going. I'm reading all this in full for a reason. Trust me. Combined with our obedience of the law, service to our employers, members and suppliers has rewarded our shareholders. This is our code of ethics. Our focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion is not, however, only for the sake of improved financial performance, but to enhance our culture and the well-being of people whose lives we influence. Here's where it gets spicy. Here's where I would not be able to keep my shit in the board meeting. The proponent, the National Center for Public Policy Research, professes concern about the legal and financial risks of the company and its shareholders associated with the diversity initiatives. The supporting statement demonstrates that it is the proponent and others that are responsible for inflicting burdens on companies with their challenges to longstanding diversity programs. The proponent's broader agenda is not reducing risks for the company, but the abolition of diversity initiatives. They don't care about the company. They just want to get rid of diversity. That's what they're saying. A 2023 federal district court decision in a case brought by the National Center for Public Policy Research noted that the proponent had published a document called Balancing the Boardroom 2022. Here's where I would have lost my shit. Which describes its shareholder activism as fighting back against the evils of woke politicized capital companies. The proponent went on to describe CEO and other corporate executives who are the most woke and the most hard left in their management of the companies as detrimental to the republic.
Wow.
And its blessings of liberty, and committed to critical race theory and the socialist foundations of wokeness, or shameless monsters who are willing to sacrifice our future for the conditions. This is what the National Center of Public Policy and Research said in court. And these same individuals are promoting that they think Costco can do better because they need to leave out diversity and implement merit. And this is Costco's response. Resolved, we believe the proponent's request for a study reflects a policy bias with which we disagree, and that further studying and reporting would not be efficient use of the company's resource. Fuck out of here, right. National Center for Public Policy and Research. Just to recap, these colored folks, on behalf of a right-wing think tank, sent out letters and pitches to Fortune 100s. They want to get rid of diversity and equity inclusion programs in these Fortune 100s to create a precedent, more precedent that these things should not be legal.
Right.
The best part of waking up is BMO and the blood.